Welcome to our FYI show this morning. President Mayor Scott and Maddasion with us, talking about everything but the show this morning so far. Mayor, I know you're going to jump into something to talk about veterans, and thank you for your service. We know you're a veteran. You talked about that when you campaigned, so we want to start the show off thanking you for your service, and know that maybe you were visiting with veterans this morning. Tell us a bit about that, and what Veterans Day means to you after being in the service.
Well, Dave, I really appreciate that. And thank you to all the veterans out there that served our country and that are serving our country. This morning, I was over at Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee did a free breakfast. They did it in person. You can carry out, you can drive through. I think they're still going till 10 for all veterans. And the place was absolutely packed. I had a couple things to do this morning. I got there at 8 o'clock. I thought it would kind of dwindle down by 8 o'clock, and it's jam-packed in there. And I walked around for an hour and got to talk to different veterans that, some just got out of the service. Some have been out for 30 years. Some are. I got to actually meet Henry Langer this morning.
He was there.
I've never actually met him, and they introduced me to him, and I talked to him for 10 minutes. And actually have his book sitting on my car seat. I just got it the other day, and it was cool to talk to him. So, Veterans Day is an important day just to say thank you, because I think some people forget that the freedoms we are afforded in this country are directly the result of folks that fought for those freedoms going all the way back to the beginning of our country. I mean, there's been several wars, there's been several conflicts, there's been times when we've had to call on people to make sacrifices, to leave their families, to put their life on the line, to make sure that we stay a free country and that we can, have free speech and we can do all those different things. And this is an important day to recognize that. And it shouldn't be recognized just one day. It should be recognized every day. But today, we kind of put veterans on a pedestal and say thank you. And I think that it's important for us to do, just to thank those folks for making the sacrifices.
Talking to veterans, does that give you perspective of your service?
A perspective?
Yeah, it did give you a different perspective.
It does. I didn't go through World War II. I didn't go through Vietnam. The majority of the conflict with in Afghanistan and Iraq was not at its high point when I was in the service, and it's interesting to see the different perspectives of people as well, and it's interesting to hear their take on kind of what they went through, and it makes me absolutely grateful that I took the opportunity to go into the service as well, because I was an 18-year-old kid that really didn't know what I wanted to do when I was getting out of high school. And I was all signed up at the University of Iowa, and I had a dorm and everything. And my buddy and I got the best room or the best dorm. And then I kind of flaked out and joined the Air Force, and he got stuck at the dorm that's way far away from everything. And but I'm grateful I did it, because I think it turned me, kind of helped mold me into the person I am today. Whether it's learning how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, being in front of people and speaking and doing different things like that. So it was a great experience, and I wouldn't change that experience for anything.
We'll get a shameless plug in here too, because we posted this actually a few years ago. So we'll get it on social media, on the Facebook and Twitter. So look for that at KOSS. A link to a story we posted a few years ago from actual World War I, from Armistice Day. Mm-hmm. Give it a little background of from Iowa,
right?
On November 11th, on Armistice Day, when he was working, what is announced her experiences about working in France, mm-hmm. As a nurse during World War I. Interesting newspaper article that accompanies that after return home, gives some interesting perspectives on women serving in the military and women serving overseas and what that meant to her. So it's a little different perspective on the Armistice Day. Might give you a little different look at that.
Yeah, and Henry Langer, when I was just chatting with him, he mentioned when he was writing his book, the gentleman that helped him write it had written a whole bunch of other books, and he told him, I don't want blood and guts and gore in this book. I want it to be history, because young people don't understand the history well enough anymore, and and he wanted to ensure that he was kind of trying to preserve history and portray history in a manner so we could see, what it was like and what he went through and what others went through during that time. So that to me, it kind of had like chills when he said that. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Check that out. Art Story says mentioned too. It says got a few pictures. Apparently, it was one of the things then. Maybe it is now. Nurse has a few pictures. An autograph book. Many of the soldiers who were fighting in World War I signing autograph books for the nurses, and some of the comments, some of the writings of the soldiers who were in the field hospital. Give you that same kind of perspective.
Yeah, we have a lot of history in Clinton with the Schick Hospital and things like that. I mean, we really do have a lot of history from World War I, World War II era here in Clinton.
Move on to the next subject. What do you got on your list? We were talking about one thing. I want to get into a whole detail. I guess as more details come about, we don't know a whole lot. CO2 pipeline coming in. You got the same letter, I guess, somebody had forwarded to us.
Yep.
Not many details, but something at least the city is probably going to take a look at and see exactly what it's all about.
Yeah, we have a letter. It looks like it's like about 15 pages long, right? Everything in there. So I'll get a chance to go through the whole thing. December 7th, 12 p.m. At the Wild Rose, they're going to have an informational meeting. So we're going to make sure that we get as much information as we can beforehand. I will be at that meeting for sure, asking questions to understand what this is for, what they're doing, why they're doing it, any impacts on our community, and I encourage anybody if they have information or they have questions coming up. And they can't make the meeting, I'd be more than happy to ask any questions for them. So you can reach out to me through my email on the city website, and I'd be more than happy to do that for anyone that can't make it, because I know it's during the work day. So,
dude, you also the State of the City address. Have you started writing that yet? You got that coming up in a couple of weeks. Have you started a draft yet?
Yeah. So the one thing I have that's very wonderful is our city administrator does a really good job of keeping notes throughout the year of things that happened and things like that. So he always has a nice list for me, and he sometimes even writes some stuff out, and which is good, and that helps me along the way. It went really smooth last year. I haven't actually started writing it yet. Matt's going to finalize his list. Most likely the 23rd is the city, the State of the City address, 12 noon at the Eagle Point Lodge. We're going to be sending out a press release with a link on it for you to reserve your spot. We can only fit about 200 people in the lodge. There's going to be a free lunch served, so anybody is welcome to sign up and come to it. So if there's citizens that want to sign up and come to it, just make sure you find that link and get on there, because like I said, we can only fit so many people in the lodge. It'll also be live streamed on YouTube, and we did it last year. Josh, our IT guy, had a way to link it to my Facebook so that it streamed live on Facebook at the same time. So hopefully we'll have it on my Facebook and the city's Facebook. So there'll be really 4 different locations that you can see it that day. And then obviously we'll post a copy of it on the City of Clinton YouTube page, so you could go back and listen to it at any time.
So that's coming up in a couple weeks. Again, look for that information. Haven't got it quite all. Haven't got the notes.
That'll be next week. That'll be my job. I try not to get too far ahead of myself on that. I'm gonna take next week to really focus on that and make sure it's ready. And then, my wife will be irritated because next weekend it'll be me practicing the speech, all day long, Saturday and Sunday. So she'll have it memorized as well, I'm sure.
Does she critique when you rehearse it, or you just do it by yourself?
I usually just go by myself, because she's
she hard on you?
She's not hard on me. She just after she hears it once, she's heard it, and then she's good. And so maybe I'll just surprise her and I'll make her come to the lunch, and then she won't hear it until then.
Work on that. You can do it in the garage.
Yeah, exactly.
Or walk on the backyard.
Yeah, maybe I'll practice it with Bennett, my son.
He'll like it.
I don't know if we'll be able to keep his attention span. So the speech itself will be about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I think that'll be, it's about what we did last year. I think it was 25. So we're going to remain right in that time frame. So 12 o'clock, Lunch is served about 12:25. We're going to start the speech. We're going to go through that, and then we'll have an opportunity, hopefully 15 minutes or so at the end, that if anybody there that has questions or anything like that, we can answer questions during that time as well. So
Drew, about you mentioned calendar parking. Did you see snow mentioned in the forecast? Probably not enough to get calendar parking kicked into effect yet this week, but the city made some changes in what has been another addition to the calendar parking. It's kind of changed a few times in the last 4 or 5 years. Can you describe in a paragraph what the rules are for this year?
Yeah, so I will tell you this, and I said this at the meeting. Personally, my opinion is we should have instituted calendar parking November 15th to March 15th like we used to, because I think the way we do it, it's a little hard to understand. And so what the change they made was, so once a snow event starts and it's declared a snow event, calendar parking is in effect. So if it's the odd side of the street or the odd day of the week or the month or whatever you want to say, you got to park on the odd side, and then even side, you're on the even side. You have till 9 a.m. the next morning to move your car, because once calendar parking is in effect because of a snow event, calendar parking will stay in effect until 72 is completed. And the reason I say it's ambiguous is because it's hard to determine when the snow event is completed, because heaven forbid it could be snowing on the north end and not on the south end of town. And when does the snow event actually end?
And
right?
It could stop snowing and then start snowing again 2 or 3 hours later.
Correct. So my thought was, is the way we're doing it, or the way we've done it in the past, is that the end all be all, the best way to do it? I don't know that. I think it's an effective way to do it. I think it's clear cut. It gives people, this is what you got to do. But I'm open to other suggestions. If we have another suggestion that might work, I did suggest that the staff reach out to some folks in like northern Michigan or Wisconsin, a city up there, and say, hey, how do you guys deal with snow? Because obviously they get a lot more than us. We haven't heard back from anything on that front yet, but I'm not trying to throw the council under the bus, but I felt like we should have gone back to the normal 15th to 15th and say, hey, this is how we do it. You got to move your cars each night. But then obviously the snow emergency routes, that remains in effect, that during a snow event, you're not allowed to park at all on the emergency routes. So
just pay attention. If it snows,
yep. And
keep that in mind.
They added one piece in there too, that they're going to try to do 2 weeks out of the year, or 2 weeks a week in the fall and a week in the spring, where we institute calendar parking outside of snow events for street sweeping. I'm not sure how that's going to work. It's kind of hard to tell people to move their cars when it's the middle of April or something like that, I guess, but we'll see how that goes. The council wanted to give me the power to choose those dates. I respectfully declined, and I let the council do that.
It's a process. Is this, I guess, from the process standpoint, they got a proposal from the Public Works Director, got some input, got some ideas. I think they even changed it from what the Public Works Director had initially proposed.
Correct.
Was the process itself, though, good? Is this the council, I guess, trying to follow a good process on this and other things?
Yeah, I think they did a nice job. So we identified some shortfalls of last year. I know we had a not normal snow event at the beginning of the year last year that really caused some issues with the ice and all that stuff. So the department had identified some issues. He brought it to the city staff, Matt. They went through that. They brought it to council for a committee of the whole meeting. Council discussed it. They kicked it back down to the Neighborhood Improvement Committee and the Traffic Study Commission to get their input on it. And then it was brought back to council with some changes. And then council decided to go through with the changes that were made at that point. So I like the process that the department head identifies the problem. It's brought to staff to kind of hone it down. I like it going to the committee level as well, because those committees are citizens that are on those committees. So we really are a citizen-led government in that respect. So I think the process was correct. I wish the outcome was a little different, but we'll see how it goes this year. And if we have to readdress it next year, then we will.
Would you sign it into
I did sign it. I don't think there was.
An argument.
No, there wasn't an argument, and I don't think there was a reason for me to not sign it or veto it or do anything like that. I mean, I gave my opinion, and they went the route that they went, and that's fine. I know a couple council members weren't excited about calendar parking in general. They don't necessarily like it, but we have to do something because we have to give our public works the opportunity to get the streets cleared. So hopefully this works, and it's just, like I said, it's going to be hard to determine when it starts, when it stops, and then when the 72-hour thing starts clicking, because before it was 24 hours. So hopefully we can work through that, and I'm proven wrong, and everything's perfect.
All right. And what's next on your list?
Oh, boy, I don't even know. As I pull it up here, we got 2 foundations in at Riverstone Crossing. That's exciting. So we're going to see, and they're on the Springdale side. So as you drive by, you're actually going to see homes up there, not just the side of the bare to the dirt. Yes,
there should be some landscaping just started there on that hill there. If people drive around Springdale around that corner, because that looks kind of bare now. But I'm sure soon there'll be some type of something put in there.
Yep, absolutely. So they're going to be working on all that stuff in the spring. Obviously, landscaping right now is not a great time to be doing that. So they'll make sure that they get all their runoff stuff and everything squared away. And I actually drove up there, and it's actually kind of neat if you drive up there and the road and all that stuff. So maybe not everybody drive up there until we're ready to go, but it's good. So excited for housing in our community, because that's what we need to bring people here. We need some adequate housing. So
I don't know how much you can talk about a couple of grants. The city's kind of some announcements the city's kind of waiting on. I know there's one, a development at the railport that we've kind of talked about on and off. The city's got some money for road extension into there that's tied to.
Yeah.
And it's done. It's not like it's an all done deal, except it's not done
It's
yet.
not done yet. Yeah.
I don't know how you say that. It's a done deal, but it's not done.
Yeah, I will say first, before I go to that one, we applied for a tourism grant for the marina. We did not get that. I know we had talked about that grant before. We didn't get that grant, so we'll continue to plug away on our stuff, but we're going to hopefully get into that grant at some point. So the rail park is interesting because we have a company that's looking to come in there. It's a very, very large capital investment, upwards of over $500 million, and we were able to link it where they're going to pay for the road infrastructure and then the rail infrastructure that are both going to end up getting deeded back to the city as public infrastructure. They'll get some tax rebates for that, but the citizens are not going to have to, take money out of our general fund or whatever to pay that. We're not going to have to borrow money for that. And along with that, the state has got involved. There's a revolving rail grant that's going to be given from the state level. And there's also they call it a RISE grant, which is for the road. And what this does is 54th, to get you the rail park, is currently gravel. It's going to get that road paved, which will be huge as trucks are coming in and out of there. And then there'll be a new road that goes into the rail park. And what's exciting about this is the state's ponying up over $3 million to do this road as far as the RISE grant match, because what it'll do is it'll make a plug-and-play rail park. So all the infrastructure is going to come in on that road, water, sewer, internet, gas, electric, all that stuff is going to be brought in as we bring that road in there. That road will go all the way, almost all the way across the rail park. And now when businesses want to come here, we don't have to say, well, it's going to take 18 months to get this. It's going to take 2 years to do this. It's going to take a year to do this. We can say, where do you want to be? We have all the infrastructure in place. The road's already going to be able to get to all the properties there. So it's going to make us a lot more attractive because we're going to have the infrastructure in place to bring a business in. So I know that was a lot, but it's pretty exciting. And we will hopefully have an announcement before the end of the year for all this good stuff.
It's tied to some state announcements and those kind of things. So I know the city's talked about it. The development corporation talked about it.
Yeah.
Kind of waiting for this the pieces to fall into place.
We were hoping the 19th of this month, but it may get pushed to December. I don't know that for sure, but that was our original hopeful date. So hopefully that will happen, but we'll see.
As you've done this, you talked before about the development part of learning things.
Yeah.
you learn the importance of some of these things and making. Do you think of what you've learned in the past months as being mayor and development, getting this road, getting some of these things in there, will have the better chance of landing more jobs here?
Yeah, I think so. And we do have a lot of jobs that are open right now. We have a lot of local businesses that are expanding and creating more job opportunities. We have Timken that came into town from Fulton. And so there's a lot of opportunities for jobs. And we're going to continue to focus on bringing more jobs and hopefully, the good paying jobs that we can bring in for our folks. But infrastructure is important, whether it's, adequate housing. Our current housing stock, the average house is like built in 1955 or something like that. I mean, we really got to get kind of an updated housing stock across the board because that's what people are looking for these days. That's what they want. So we need to make sure we're attractive on that front. Our roads are starting to finally get at a really high level. We're in the low 60s for our pavement condition index, according to the state's analysis, which is awesome because 15 years ago we were in the 30s. So over the last 15 years, thank you to all the council members and mayors and city staff that have supported that road program, because I think we're doing really good right now. And you learn quickly that, infrastructure, it's important. You need roads, they need to be good, but the amount of behind the scenes things that have to happen for one road to get built or one small subdivision to get done, it's truly amazing. All the work that our staff puts in down at City Hall to make sure those things come to fruition.
Mayor, we better get a couple of things. I know you had a couple of things. What else you mentioned you wanted to make sure to talk about, but you got them.
I would like to mention real quick, we have really great youth programs that are being spun up at the Park and Rec. They got some little shooters. They got volleyball for the young kids. They're doing basketball tournaments. They're doing volleyball tournaments for like travel teams and things like that. So kudos to Josh and his team at the Parks and Rec, because they really are trying to transform what we're able to do in our community. Now we're a little bit tight on gym space and things like that, but they do a really good job logistically getting things taken care of. So I just wanted to give them a shout out because I coached basketball for 10 years. I played sports growing up. I'm kind of a sports guy, and it's exciting to see things that we were normally leaving our community to do. We're now doing them here in our community, and our kids are able to participate. And we're bringing people from the outside to participate in these tournaments and things. So it's exciting. I know the little shooters that they started up last year, they've had to add like 1 or 2 more sessions because they have so many kids that are signing up. And I'm a big basketball guy, so I'm excited to see the fruits of that labor as we get those kids from third grade or kindergarten and up, and as they travel through, and then future, kings and queens at Clinton High. So that's exciting to me. And the last thing I would like to mention is October 19th, we went to D.C., Matt and I forgot to put that on my list with you. And Jason, our city engineer, went there. We met with Senator Grassley, Senator Ernst, Representative Miller Meeks, and then we also met with Representative Ashley Hinson's team. We didn't get to meet with her directly. We weren't sure how the redistricting was going to go, so we were like, well, let's just go introduce ourselves to her just in case we end up in her district. But it looks like Miller Meeks is going to run in our new District 1, which is that. Yeah. Yep. So that's exciting. So we may keep her around, which is good because I think she's really awesome. I've met her 3 times now, and just amazing to have conversations with her. She's super intelligent. She really cares about what she's doing, so that's exciting. But our main thing was we wanted to tout Clinton a little bit. We wanted to make sure that our federal representatives recognize Clinton because I think we've got something really special here. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to. But I want them to be able to recognize, hey, that's Scott from Clinton, that's Matt from Clinton, or whatever, or whoever it is. I don't want them to have to reintroduce myself to them every single time, because I think it's important for our community to have that relationship with our federal representatives, so we know if we need something, we can talk to them. And I think going to DC and meeting them in different places and times, it really will allow for us to do that. The RAISE grant was our main focus, and that's for Manufacturing Drive and Bluff. We're asking for $19 million. November 22nd is going to be that the day they announce those projects. We got an email the other day from the federal DOT asking some more questions. So we're hopeful that them asking more questions means that they're going to give us some money. So we'll see.
If we get two, don't only forget out Christmas tree lighting ceremony. You better get that a plug.
Christmas tree lighting is now December 3rd. So I'm out of town the 4th, and it was going to be the 4th, and we had some backups. But now it's going to be December 3rd. I don't know the exact time. It's a Friday night, probably around 5:30, I would guess. But we'll get the correct information from Karen out there.
Put that on your calendar for the 3rd.
Yeah, put it on your calendar for the 3rd. And
it's going to be people can come in person this
people
year.
can come in person this year. And then I know I'll plug too, the Historical Society does their Christmas tree decorating where you can walk through there. And that opens, I think, the 3rd or the 4th, that opens. So my family will have a tree down there as well. So you can come down and
who's in charge of decorating that, Scott?
Well, I asked my wife if she would do it, and she said that she'd buy the decorations, but I have to go decorate it. So I guess it's a team effort.
All right. We'll see how it looks like.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna have to enlist. My sister-in-law is like really good at decorating, so I may have to enlist her to come down and help me.
Well, we'll look for that down at the Historical Society. Thanks for coming in today, Mayor.
Thanks.
You're listening to